Now we're going to go here. We're going to send an update on streaming now. My thoughts on the Kamala Harris book. youtube.com/Michael.Official. Done. Okay. Hey, everybody. So we're going to go through it. I read it. I'm going to give it a chance till we have 100 people in here. Hope everyone's having a good Labor Day weekend. I have to write an article about this for the Federalist, which is going to happen soon. So I'm just going to give people a sec to get in here, and then we can talk about the book. Miguel Ferreira. What is that, like 5 cents or like the price of a kid's kidney in your shithole country, I'm guessing? Okay. Oh, we got 100 people here. Okay, so let's talk about it. By the way, I really hope you all, where should I put this cow? I really hope you all enjoyed the episode of the Timcast I did yesterday, Tim Pool's show, Tim IRL. That was a lot of fun. We went long. It was kind of interesting seeing people's, I don't want to talk about Austin in another live stream. It was kind of interesting seeing people's reactions. Because, you know, me and Tim hung out for a bit beforehand. We're pals, a lot of mutual respect. And seeing how people perceived our interaction, to me as a person who was there, it's always very interesting because people just read things that aren't there. I think some people were like upset that Tim was interrupting me. I wasn't upset. I thought it was a very good conversation. I adore him, and I know this feeling is mutual. So I'll be back on at some point in the near future. I thought we had a really great conversation. I think Tim is someone who is intellectually curious about certain subjects or areas of knowledge that I have some expertise on. And he's very interested in hearing it. And when that happens with the host, I feel like that also extends to the audience, that they are like, oh, let me hear this, what they have to say. So let me tell the backstory of this book. Truth be told. So someone messaged me on Love the Tim Pool appearance. My 19-year-old pre-med son and teacher wife both love the education talk. Navigating from the inside is difficult. By teacher wife, I assume you mean it's your husband, who's I fucked up the joke. Anyway, mazel tov on the son. And I do appreciate your wife's position because it can't be easy. It's got to be really rough. So I was on Twitter, and this is one of the times I got owned, like just owned. I was on Twitter, and someone asked me, what would it take for you to listen to Kamala Harris's book? She reads it herself. Let me explain something to you, from some publishing background. All these politicians release these books. They're basically like a press release. They're never written by the person themselves. It's amazing because blue-pilled people perceive every screen as a window. So they know that presidents have speechwriters. They know this. They know this in one part of their mind. But they can't wrap their heads around that when President Obama delivered a speech, he didn't write every word. Now, he certainly went through it. Bright man, edited it, made changes. He didn't write it. He had a lot of editorial input, but he didn't write it, and he's tried to write it. They tried to write it in his voice. If I had a voice, could speak correctly, it would be very useful. And so what happens, like, for example, I'm sure all of you forgot, during the 2016 campaign, both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton released books. I don't mean her second autobiography. He released a book called Crippled America. I'm not joking. Look it up. It has no cognitive content. Every chapter is Social Security. No one in Congress knows what they're doing. It's ridiculous. Everyone's laughing at us. We need someone in Washington who can settle this and take care of our seniors. Next chapter, the environment. No one knows what it's. Every chapter's like this. And there's no. I read it to be like, what would Trump be like as president? And the only thing that he said that was definitive is, I will not touch Social Security. Everything else is like, I'll fix the problem. What does that entail? Like, literally, what does that entail? So Hillary and Tim Kaine also released a book, which I'm sure no one read. I'm sure they had nothing to do with writing this book. They're campaigning. They don't have time. It's not an insult to them, but people really think that these politicians write their own books while knowing full well that they have a staff of speechwriters, of people to write for them. And as a result, so I'm on Twitter, someone says, how much would it cost for you to listen to Kamala Harris's book? And I said $1,000 because I thought, I'm being ridiculous. I'm not going to get $1,000 to read this book. And maybe I'll get like 400 and then I can just pocket it. And someone just jumps in. Here's $1,000, slides it across the table. I wouldn't pocket it. It would have to be wasted. That's how spike funding works. And I'm like, what have I done? So I messaged him. I sent him a special present. And I said, is it okay if I read the book instead of listen to it? Because it's a lot easier for me to take notes as I'm reading. And he says, sure, that's fine. So I did read it. And I got to tell you, the fact that there was a ghostwriter from her staff, the book's not bad. Like, I was terrified it would be a complete cringe fest nightmare. Someone in my locals, like malice.locals.com, if you guys want to join, made the comment that their girlfriend who's a lefty, like they had a book group and they read all of the books by the candidates, and the lefties all thought Kamala Harris's was the worst. So I'm like, oh God, this is going to be hell on earth. And I read the introduction on Tom Wood's show. I'm sure none of you listened to it because he's a very failed podcaster. And the introduction, I was like, what have I done? This is just going to be excruciating cringe fest 2020. And after the introduction, it's fine. It's fine. So, super engaging conversation with Tim. Have some mystery currency from another poop hole country. Norway, look, guys, look it up. The Prime Minister of Norway is Santa Claus's wife, Mrs. Claus. She looks Irma Stromberg, something like that, Norberg. She looks exactly like Santa Claus's wife. So, I read the book. And I'm going to go through it, and it's a perfectly fine read. It's not eye-rolling. There's a few moments where you're like, holy shit. Nor is it particularly empty of content. Like, there's some concerns. One is, it's like all these, like the North Korean propaganda, where there's all these stories, and someone's life is a mess, and here comes Kamala Harris. And she by the way, on like page 1, she's like, it's pronounced Kamala, like the pronunciation. Kamala. So Kamala Harris is like, steps in and saves the problem. She doesn't do that. There's very little self-glorification in it. She avoids talking a lot about ideas. And when she does, it's not that bad. Like you might disagree with her, but she's not being completely evasive. And she does tell enough of her life story that you can tell what is important to her, or at least what she wants you to think is important about her, but it's there. So the book was perfectly fine and readable. Let me get the quotes that I read from the book, and then we're going to go through them. Oh, shit. Okay, so I took them in my trusty iPod. 1 second. Oh, that sound, by the way, is, no one commits to a bit like Michael Malice. Okay. I'm just going to the beginning. And we're going to go through it this way. You're never going to have to read it. Okay, so this is page, I don't remember what page it is, early on. And this is where I read it on Tom's show, and I was just excruciating. It's election night 2016. She's elected to the Senate. This is a major accomplishment, like a major accomplishment. She's having her party, victory. At a certain point, my 9-year-old godson, Alexander, came up to me with big tears welling in his eyes. I assumed one of the other kids in our group had been teasing him about something. Come here, little man. What's wrong? This book really speaks to me. Alexander looked up and locked eyes with me. His voice was trembling. Auntie Kamala, that man can't win. He's not going to win, is he? Referring to Trump. First of all, this is how we make fun of you. This is on Twitter all the time about my 3-month-old fetus punched my wife in the stomach and said, Mom, how can I live in a world where we're not in the Paris Peace Accords or Paris Climate Change Accords? What am I supposed to tell him or her? No, you can't tell me. You're 9. Your auntie is about to be in the Senate and you don't know Trump's name? That man? Really? Really? Alexander's worry broke my heart. I bet you this is the part she actually wrote, the introduction, because the rest of the book is fine. Our prime minister is the most someone's mom out of anyone. She's Santa's wife. She's adorable. And she speaks perfect English, like everyone in Norway, but it's cute to see. And then everyone clapped. Oh, we're going to get to... Well, everyone did clap. This is her victory party. Everyone clapped. That is factual and truthful. Alexander's worry broke my heart. I didn't want anyone making a child feel that way. 8 years earlier, many of us cried tears of joy when Barack Obama was elected president. And now, to see Alexander's fear? Who gave him that fear, bitch? So you didn't teach him Trump's name, but you taught him to be afraid? This is smart? He's 9. He should be playing with Fabuland and Zeldas. His father, Reggie, and I took him outside, tried to console him. Alexander, you know how sometimes superheroes are facing a big challenge because a villain is coming for them? What do they do when that happens? They fight back, he whimpered. That's right. And they fight back with emotion. Yeah, Batman is just, really just like a Care Bear stare. Because all the best superheroes have big emotions just like you. She's making him into a gay. But they always fight back, right? So that's what we're going to do. Okay. So that was when I was like, oh, God, this is horrible. Is the moral high ground of COVID lockdowns popular? Do people actually care about old people? I know I don't. I think we're at a point where it's been very divided, where there's people who are delighted to be submissive and to enforce submission. And there are people who are just like, this is all bullshit and a con, excuse me. Okay, the next thing. See, here she lies. So she has to face the crowd after Trump's victory. And this is a minor point, but it's just like I thought there were going to be a lot more lies in the book, so I just flagged it. I had written a speech based on the assumption that Hillary Clinton would be our first woman president. You didn't write the speech. Your staff wrote a speech. If you said I had a speech ready, you didn't need to say you wrote it, but that's very minor. I sat down on the couch with Doug and ate an entire family-sized bag of classic Doritos. Didn't share a single chip. Okay, emotional eating. That's not really there. Okay, skipping that. This is what I don't understand. So she talks about her family background, which I thought was a lot interested. Pig noses don't stop a virus. You can take the mask off. Okay. My father, Donald Harris, was born in Jamaica in 1938. He was a brilliant student who emigrated to the U.S. after being admitted to Berkeley. He went there to study economics and would go on to teach economics at Stanford, where he remains a professor emeritus. Here's the thing about this book. Dad, they get divorced when she's very young. Dad shows up again later in the book when she graduates high school. And then he vanishes. So he's still alive as of this writing, which is, I think, is like last year. He's not at her wedding. She doesn't explain why. And I think it's very interesting about the relationship, because if she's going to be so identifying with the black side of her family, she goes to Howard, which was obviously by choice. And she's going to be, I'm the only black person on this stage. Remember that? Dad's not around. It's also like Obama. Obama was raised by white people. He chose, whatever his reasons, and I'm sure they're valid for him, to identify with the black side of his family. So I would love to know why. I mean, if you're going to talk about identity, if you're going to talk about being biracial, which is really interesting, and you have a unique insight, explain that to me, how that forms who you are as a person. I would very much be interested in hearing that. It's not something many of us can have insight into. There's a lot of talk about how if you're white, you don't know what it's like to be a black person. How many people know what it's like to be a mixed Indian and black person, especially from that era? How much prejudice did you feel? Did you feel prejudice from people who are black for being mixed race? Did people assume you're like Hispanic because they it's hard to determine what ethnicity you are because of the mix? She doesn't really talk about that, and I would have been very interested in hearing it. I think she'd have some interesting things to say. My mother's life began 1,000 miles to the east in southern India. She graduated from the University of Delhi at 19. She didn't stop there. She applied to a grad program at Berkeley, a university she'd never seen, a country she'd never visited. So that's the thing. They are both from Berkeley, both her parents. That tells you a lot, in my opinion. Here's a quote. So a lot of times the mask drops, or she doesn't realize how she comes off, or she's trying to come off a certain way. I can't speak to her motivations. Social justice was a central part of family discussions. So that is, my mom surrounded herself with close friends who are really more like sisters. My godmother, a fellow Berkeley student who I knew as Aunt Mary, was one of them. They met through the civil rights movement. They marched against the Vietnam War and for civil rights. They went to see Martin Luther King speak at Berkeley, and my mother had a chance to meet him. Okay, so this is her background. It's very much this kind of hard left, multicultural, identitarian version of leftism. She also talks about how there's some uncle or something that when I was a girl, he gave me a pearl necklace that he brought back from a trip in Japan. Someone should have vetted that. She goes, pearls have been one of my favorite forms of jewelry ever since. Wow, you're so quirky. Okay. So she talks about being bused, but here's what I don't understand. Her mom is a cancer researcher. Dad was an economist. How are they poor? Her mom had a PhD. I don't think you have a PhD cancer researcher and you're basically like Honey Boo Boo's family trying to make ends meet. I didn't expect Kamala to be the pick. That shows what the cathedral's aiming for at this point. Scary. I don't know. I was surprised by the pick, very surprised. But obviously I was wrong. I have a coworker who described Kamala Harris as far left. I can't stand when conservatives pull that crap because it's completely besides the point. I don't think it's completely besides the point at all. I think there's a difference between Joe Biden, who will be glad to compromise with Republicans like Clinton was in order to get bills, and someone who's ideological. I don't think she is that ideological, because as a prosecutor, she clearly did not have a particularly hard left record. How long until mixed race people are the next targets of the cathedral? It could go several ways. I am now the proud owner of Ego and Hubris. You, sir, are... That's a cool photo, Chef. You, sir, are currently valued $150 or above. Thought you might like to know. Love the podcast. Thank you. Well, thank you. Now it's worth $160. Shauna, pearl necklace. That's the most waspish thing I've ever heard. Yeah, she signals white like a lot in the book. It's a very Barbara Bush thing, clutching at pearls, you know. Looking at the photo of my first day of class reminds me how wonderful it was to grow up in such a diverse environment. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Next. She talks about her daycare with this is the environment this is something I find really sick. And just you know how like the 1619 Project from the New York Times is basically a coup about American history, and if you define America as being a slave country as opposed to, you know, the human rights country, everything else falls into place. She grew up in that. This is how she was weaned. She says the daycare center was small but promising, but welcoming, with posters of leaders such as Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, and Harriet Tubman on the wall. The first George Washington Maya and I learned about, Maya's her sister, when we were young, was George Washington Carver. Biden was just talking about this at the campaign trail, like, oh, we're not even told that a black man invented the light bulb. He didn't. That's just this kind of agitprop where they basically take someone who invented a filament, which was not a minor accomplishment, especially as a black person, that he should certainly be celebrated. And people hear, inventor, light, he invented the light bulb. That's how the brain works. They do this by design. She goes, we still laugh about the first time Maya heard a classroom teacher talk about President George Washington, and she thought to herself proudly, I know him. He's the one who worked with peanuts. So it's very telling in this context that the most important people in history to them were the ones who happened to be black, simply because they were black. George Washington Carver, sure, he's a great inventor. There's no shortage of great inventors in American history. But the only metric by which he is the most important inventor is because of his race, and that he was able to achieve so much in that environment. Peanut oil, peanut butter, you can't name any of his inventions. None of them are like the car or the light bulb or telephone. These are the great inventions of all time. Electricity, again, he's important, but for who and what he was. Okay. Here's the other thing that's kind of weird. Her mom, again, is Indian, from India. And she says, while mom cooked, she would often put Aretha Franklin in the record player, and I would dance and sing in the living room as if it was my stage. Very cute. We listened to her version of To Be Young, Gifted, and Black all the time. An anthem of black pride first performed by Nina Simone. That's what's insane to me. Like, is mom singing along like To Be Young, Gifted, and Black? You ain't black. Okay. Sorry, guys. I missed the page. Okay, here we go. This is now she's graduating high school. I invited both of my parents to come to my graduation, even though I knew they wouldn't speak to each other. I still want them both to be there. Okay? That's the last time Dad appears in the book. And it's very bizarre because she becomes a DA, Attorney General. My God, your daughter's Attorney General? That's amazing. Senator? Where is he? Don't know. Never mentions him again. Here's what else is funny, and I respect her for talking about this. I finished law school in the spring of '89, took the bar in July. She had a job waiting for her. She just had to pass the bar. In November, the state bar sent letters out to those who had taken the exam, and to my utter devastation, I had failed. So she talks about having failed the bar. She didn't need to do that, so credit to her. George Washington Ham Carver. I think Soros breeds mulattoes on an island somewhere, but they always have fake names and ambiguous backgrounds. Is that racist? LOL. Okay. I don't know what to say. I feel so oppressed by stoplights. They should be canceled or defunded. Well, you're speaking to an anarchist, so I actually agree with you. It is very white pilling, seeing all these old school lefties speaking out against this, James Lindsay and others. Oh yeah, for sure, because they know they're the first ones up against the wall. The smart ones do. It's just like when I was in Turkey, in Bodrum, and I saw the nightclubs and the moderate Muslims, I'm like, these guys are fully westernized. They'd be the first ones killed because they're also closest. And you know what? You're young men. Here's your choice: kill yourself or go have parties and get laid. Well, it's going to be hard for me to compete if that's on the table, so I better get rid of it. She talks about being a progressive. One of the things is she's got to fucking fix her record because she's a prosecutor, which is a cop. And she has to change that and explain her way because she's going to try to run left, right? So you know how in this George W. Bush did the same bullshit in 2000. He said, I'm a compassionate conservative. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, what does that mean? It's like, well, I'm very different. I'm compassionate. It's like, okay. And she's like, I'm a progressive prosecutor. 1K to read Cash. Now sympathy Cash. Crap. Thank you, Adam. Oh, look at that picture. It's so cute. Someone who uses what she means by a progressive prosecutor is someone who uses the power of the office with a sense of fairness, perspective, and experience, unlike every other prosecutor. Someone who is clear about the needs to hold serious criminals accountable. That's crazy. A prosecutor? And who understood the best way to create safe communities was to prevent crime in the first place. Okay. I think most prosecutors understand this. Okay. Next. Okay. She never, are you candied flavored or applewood smoked? I would say, of those two, definitely candy flavored. That's a good question. She never mentions Willie Brown once. I know there's all this backstory with them. She never mentions him or even alludes to him. When she's running against people for public office, she doesn't really even mention their name. She's like, my opponent. Very political. Except when she ran against a woman who was a congresswoman, tried to be a senator, and she beat her. She says, oh, she ran a tough campaign, but that's all she says. Here's another hashtag that happened moment. So she's a prosecutor. And she goes, I recall the time as a young prosecutor when I overheard some of my colleagues in the hallway. Brace yourselves, guys. This is going to be tough. Should we add the gang enhancement? One of them asked. Can we show he was in a gang? The other one said, come on. You saw what he was wearing. You saw what corner he was picked up on. Now, hold on. Let's pause for a second. If someone is wearing a certain color in a certain gang area, yeah, that usually is an indicator that they're in a gang. So that's not ridiculous. Guys got the tape of that rapper. What's his name? I stepped out into the hallway. Hey, guys, just so you know, I have family that live in that neighborhood. I've got friends who dress in that style, and I've got a tape of that rapper in my car right now. Mic drop. Imaginary mic drop. Jesus Christ. So I was like, really, bitch? Will Kamala put us all in prison? I'm going full capo. Sorry, guys. I'm turning you all in. They'll use me as currency. I self-identify as wearing a mask. My self-identified mask is as real as 70 of the 72 genders. That's pretty funny. Okay. The job of a progressive prosecutor is to look out for the overlooked, to speak up for those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the cause of crime, not just the consequences, and to shine a light on the inequality and fairness that led to injustice. Okay. Here's the other thing. She's a district attorney now. That's a big deal. Someone was in the hallway and they said to their secretary, a woman showing up and said, I want to speak to Kamala. I will only speak to Kamala. No, unless you knew her before, you didn't say that. She realizes no one on the left cares that she was a prosecutor. It's all looks and anti-whitey talk to the simpletons. Yeah, there's something to that. Here's the other thing. The DA's office was a mess when she took over, according to her. That's possibly true. I wouldn't be surprised. She goes, the stakes of repairing the DA's office were greater than making the trains run on time. Are you serious, bitch? That's your metaphor? You're going to make the trains run on time? Are you only following orders too? We cannot, so she has another lie in here. She goes, we cannot forget Eric Gardner's desperate words, I can't breathe, as a police officer strangled him to death during arrest for selling cigarettes. He wasn't strangled to death. And I'm no fan of the police. That's a lie. If there aren't serious consequences for police brutality in our justice system, what kind of message does that send to police officers? So now she's anti-cop also at the same time, even though she's locking people up for weed. Okay, cool. We'll start, bitch. So she talks about law, And she says, if that meant breaking the law, so be it. They can afford the fine. It was painful to me when I realized that the banks viewed a fine as just the cost of doing business. Yeah, a fine and a tax are identical. The only difference is with a fine, some politicians disapprove of your behavior. The bank is supposed to care. That's no economic relevance whatsoever, other than perhaps it foretells future aggression. What? They don't care that I disapprove of their behavior? But I'm the DA. I got elected. So in 2010, all the attorneys general in 50 states got together in a multi-state investigation. And she's like, I was eager to join the fight, but there's just one small problem. I wasn't yet California's attorney general. Yeah, that's what motivated you to seek that office. You just wanted to be part of this thing. Yeah, sure thing. Cool. Do you think her parents picked up most of this culture of Berkeley, or had it already reached their home countries caused them to be drawn here? 100%. The dad's Jamaican. You don't see this shit in Jamaica. You don't see this shit in India. This is all Berkeley. One of the mistakes the right is making is assuming all the identitarians are Stasi and all the Stasi are identitarians. Some are, but many of these people hate each other. I made that comment during the riots. I said, just wait, BLM and Antifa are about to go to war. And I stand by that. That is not at all the same side in a certain specific context. Okay. Here we go. I got to look up this quote. One longtime political strategist announced to an audience at UC Irvine, that there was no way I could win because I was a woman running for attorney general, a woman who is a minority, a woman who is a minority who's anti-death penalty, a woman who is minority who's anti-death penalty, who is DA of wacky San Francisco. I'm looking this up because this seems so out of context, it's not even funny. So let me see what exactly happened here. Maybe she's telling the truth. It's this quote. DA of wacky San Francisco. Politico has a reference in 2019. A well-known They talk about a well-known Democratic strategist, but they don't say who it is, and it seems like she's the source for the quote. So here she's saying it's on stage. It doesn't say he was on stage here. Let me find this. This could be a lie I caught her in. As one prominent California strategist put at the time, here's the quote again. Holy shit, she's planning this story. Holy shit, this is amazing. Let me look up the word wacky. This is interesting. So this is quoting the book. I have to find this source. This is fascinating. Oh my God. And it says UC Irvine. I'm going to look up UC Irvine too. There's no references to this. She's lying. Holy shit, I caught her in a lie. There's no reference to this online anywhere. There's only 5 results for UC Irvine, wacky San Francisco, and Kamala Harris. Oh my God, she's lying. I caught her in a lie. Wow. Cool, guys. Let me get these super chats. I'm sorry. Hey, Michael, loving the Aboot. How long until the new book comes out? Oh God, I don't know. It's glacial. Do you think Yuri Bezmenov will gain popularity since the interview clip will be in the new Call of Duty? Well, yeah. I mean, come on. Seriously? It's so cringe hearing Kamala's ghostwriter try to downplay her slave trading cop livelihood. Yeah. Scott Adams said the same today, that BLM would come to blows soon. Yeah, he liked my tweet when I said at the time. Me and Scott are often or almost always on the same page. This is fascinating that I caught her in a lie. I'm going to mail Ben right now. Hold on. Ben Molly. Working. I think I caught her in a lie. She claims a strategist told the crowd. Oh man, this is great. You guys are watching history happen. Sorry guys, this is annoying, but like this is part of the job. Sent. Okay, back to the stream. Sorry. In your opinion, how do you see the election riots ending? Do we survive? LOL. We've survived far worse riots than this, although without corporate support. I'm not worried about that. I have no idea how this election is going to go because I haven't seen the debates yet. I bet her vag looks like a punch roast beef sandwich. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, we're caught up. Let me go back to the book. This is the most insane thing she says in the book, and it like blew my mind. For the vast majority of families, about the housing crisis and the bubble. For the vast majority of families, buying a home is the biggest financial transaction they will ever be involved in. It's one of the most affirming moments in a person's adult life, a testament to all your hard work. Yeah. You trust the people involved in the process. Here we go. Ready? When the banker tells you that you qualify for a loan, you trust that she's reviewed the numbers and won't let you take on more than you can handle. When the offer is accepted, the broker is happy for you. You think he's going to move into the house with you. When it comes to finish the paperwork, it's a signing ceremony. You might as well be popping champagne. Your broker is there, your banker is there, and you believe they have your best interests at heart. When they put a stack of paper in front of you, you trust them and you sign and sign and sign and sign. So as a lawyer, she's saying contracts aren't valid because it's the responsibility of the bank to not give you a loan unless they're telling you you're responsible. This is dementia and very disturbing and completely violates our whole system. Okay. So she defends her thing about truancy in a very smart way, which is persuasive. Her point was a significant percentage, a teacher was talking or something, an educator, a significant percentage of their habitually truant high school students had missed their elementary school classes too for weeks, even months at a time. You could map the path for children who start drifting away from the classroom when they're young. The truant child became the wanderer, who became the target for gang recruiters, who became the young drug courier, who became the perpetrator or victim of violence. If we didn't see that child in elementary school where they belonged, chances were we'd see them later in prison, in the hospital, or dead. I think that's a very smart way to look at that issue from her perspective. Here's something else that's really weird. So she never mentions any boyfriend or anything growing up. So this guy Doug she starts dating as an adult when she's attorney general, who she later marries. This is his second marriage, her first. She goes, the morning after our first date, Doug emailed me with all of his available dates for the next couple of months. I'm too old to play games or hide the ball. I really like you. For our third date, Doug decided a grand gesture was in order. He flew to Sacramento to meet for dinner. After that, we knew we had something special. We agreed to commit to each other for 6 months. 3 dates and you're committing for 6 months? That sounds very odd to me, but who am I to judge? I'm just saying, I don't, maybe he's a demon in bed. Thank you, Eliza. Sylvester, more shithole money. She has to be the most clear example of the power-hungry politician who will do or say anything to get ahead, no principles. I said it during the campaign. She is by far the most evil sociopath on the Democratic stage. By far. Right-wingers are talking about going to Oregon. I think we should just let the left burn itself out and be the people that go and rebuild, hate riots. They should not. You're not wanted there. If they wanted you there, they call the National Guard. Stay home and protect your own. Is my advice if people are asking, which they're not. Doug had named his kids after John Coltrane and Ella Fitzgerald. So he's one of those. She's also honest about Trump. Okay, what's this? Any chance Kamala's anonymous Democratic strategist is the Democratic source quoted in the Trump loser article in The Atlantic? That's not impossible at all. Yeah, that's really funny. She explains explicitly why she's against the wall. The mask drops there. A useless wall on the southern border would be nothing more than a symbol, a monument standing in opposition to not just everything I value, but the fundamental values upon which this country was built. Well, this country wasn't built on free borders with Mexico. But she's right. That's why Trump wants to build it, as a symbol. So she's calling it out. She's being honest there. Here's the other thing that she talks about, how the alternative to negotiating lower prices ourselves. So she says Medicare could have incredible bargaining power to drive significantly lower prescription prices through negotiation. Is there any better example of corporatism when the drug companies are selling to the government instead of customers, and they can charge the government whatever they want? It's not going to be when the government has a project that the government's going to buy a school, a road, cars, toilets. When does the government get things for cheaper? Is there even one example? It never happens. And this is how you bribe each other. You give me, oh, you're going to buy my drugs? Of course I'm going to contribute to your campaign. So that's a complete lie. First and foremost, we need every medical school in the country to require implicit bias training for their students. So she wants this fucking Maoism in every medical school. This is sick stuff. Okay. She blames COVID on climate change. I had a tweet joking about this. She did it. Climate change also increases the risk of deadly global pandemics making their way to the United States. But this is before COVID. Can someone send me some of that talking Russian ham? I heard it's the new balota. These French people with their attitudes. Here's another one. She goes full socialist. Another much discussed for helping American workforce is to create a government jobs guarantee program. You can't be unemployed because you're going to work for the government. Rather than a cash payment, a federal jobs guarantee could ensure that anyone who wants to work will have a good paying job with dignity. Really? If you're having some job that shouldn't exist, that's not dignity. It's still welfare. If you're part of the plan you're running on, is it possible? Would it work? The better answer is, let's find out. How much money would that cost if you buy a job well-paying for everyone who wants one? More than $50? Here's the other thing. She goes full boomer. They had to put together a website, her office. As we were developing the website, I'd often have our team show it to me, and I'd literally click through the process myself. Sure. That's fair. More than once, I'd hit a snag. I'd tell them, if I don't understand it, how will the students? I mean, I'm so brilliant. Is it possible the students understand computers better than you? Maybe. They haven't gone through menopause. Thank you, Josh. What? Andrew? What the fuck's going on there? Okay. Oh, here she goes. 90% of Judge Kavanaugh's record was withheld from members of the Select Judiciary Committee. Yeah, because he's working at the White House at the time, I believe. 90%? I don't believe it. We knew that... okay. She talks about Christina Ford. They had a prosecutor interview Christine Ford, as you all remember. Rachel Mitchell, an Arizona prosecutor, questioned Dr. Ford instead of Republican committee members, all men, who apparently doubted their own ability to question her. Just shameless. I hate the immigrants made this country ideology, not because I'm against immigration, but ignores the fact that at least half my ancestors did not come here willingly, and lots of Jamaicans did. Oh yeah, that's a great. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. There's lots of things that made America great, and lots of things that made America worse. Slavery is one of them. I mean, I'm sure every black person would agree it's just horrible. And look how many people died to try to be immigrants. What do you think about Trump's ban on wokeness? I'm scared it might be too little too late. Depends on his re-election. So Amy Klobuchar, senator, was grilling Brett Kavanaugh because they're trying to make him out to be a drunk. Remember this? He's going to be Supreme Court justice. They're trying to make him a drunk. And he says, I have no drinking. So he asks her, do you like to drink? And she goes, I have no drinking problem, Judge. Yeah, nor do I, he retorted, Kavanaugh. It was, if anything, a revealing moment from a man who had sworn up and down that he always treats women with respect. If a woman says to you on the floor of a Senate in a job interview, are you an alcoholic? You're allowed to say, are you? Now that you're an expert on Kamala, how do you think she'd respond to Trump's bringing back the troops late October? Like this. Do you mean oink oink or suey? Great podcast with Tim Pool last night. Tim is the GOAT. He gave patently false statements about the meanings of certain terms he'd written in his high school yearbook. So the same people who say Bill Clinton was impeached because he lied about sex, which was ridiculous. That's not what happens because of perjury. Oh, but you lied about what was in your yearbook. You can't be in the Supreme Court. Your yearbook. Thank you very much, Tard. He was dishonest about the kind of gatherings he attended in high school. So the people who have a problem with what Kavanaugh did in high school have no problem with the governor of Virginia in medical school in blackface. Just so we're clear. Love you and all you do. Hope this helps recoup the birdcage liner you bought. Well, I got $1,000 to read this book, so that it's got paid, and it paid for my trip to Austin. Here's what's also funny. Dr. Ford did not come forward in vain. The cameras that carried her story and her message inspired women and men to tell their sexual assaults, many for the first time. Yeah, like Tara Reid. Remember her? Yeah. There's some cute photos. I think she had a nose job. There's a photo of her in college. Her nose looks very different. And it was done well. I think she looks great. And that was that. So those are my thoughts on Kamala. We're going to do another stream soon. I'm going to talk about my trip to Austin and my thoughts on the Tim Pool show, which I hope you all enjoyed. I really liked the propeller beanie. It wasn't bad. I would not recommend you read it. but you're not going to want to kill yourself. You're just going to be like, okay, this is kind of like, it's like a Lifetime documentary. It's like just fluffy, but not excruciating or saccharine. I'm going to write an article about it, but that's that. So I will talk to you guys. I guess I'll hang out for a little bit more, maybe like 10 more minutes, but now I can take it off. No one cared who I was until I put on the snout. Ow, 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 ow. It really hurt. Yeah. This is police brutality. Universal employment harkens back to the Freedmen's Bureau education / white Protestant approach to former slaves as described in Russell's Renegade History of the United States, which I'm reading thanks to you. You are welcome. Okay. Okay. Oh, the handcuffs are in the other room. Now I know what it's like. I feel like I'm on the Amistad. Whew. Okay, guys. I want to give you guys a little update. That's really funny. By the way, 27% of black voters plan to vote for Trump in Pennsylvania. It's not just approval rating. Biden has only 67% support in the state. I'm going to look this up right now. Trump, Biden, black, Pennsylvania vote. 1 in 4? That seems insane. This is Washington Examiner. They're tied in Pennsylvania. Rasmussen is not reliable, but you are correct. Rasmussen, even if it's not reliable, it's not this unreliable. Rasmussen is saying 27% of the black vote in Pennsylvania. If Trump or any Republican is ever at a point where they're getting 20% of the black vote, that is historic and will destroy the Democratic Party. I am shocked to learn this. I was wrong. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. I'm going to look up what it was in 2016. Let's see how much of a difference. Maybe some kind of weird outlier. (2016). This is useful information to have. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to break this down. It's hard. It should be easy to find this fucking data. Pennsylvania. Okay. We have the turnout, but we don't say who they're voting for. Fuck. Pennsylvania election. So I'm not finding this information easily. So I have an exit poll. Hold on. Exit poll. I found it. Race and gender, income. This is national. Is there a state by state one? This is national though. Pennsylvania. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Trump 150. Okay, that's males. Age, race. Trump won 16% of non-white. It breaks down further. Trump got 14% of black men and 1% of black women. So that's like what? Black women probably vote. Okay, so it's 4%. The black women are 1.5. There were 6% black women, 4% black men. The black women had 1. The black men had 14. That is fascinating. So it's going to work out to like 10% roughly. That's triple. That, guys, if this is remotely true, that's insane. That is insane. Wow. Okay. That is fascinating information. Thank you very much. All right, what else can we chat about? If he gets 20% of the black vote or 15 nationwide, I can't even imagine the meltdowns on the cathedral. They're not going to know how to explain this. They're going to pretend. They're probably going to pretend it didn't happen. But the smart ones who are crunching the numbers and want to win next time are going to be like, "What just happened here? This shouldn't be happening. We told everyone he's a racist. We have a black woman as the VP. Wow, wow, this is quite the stream." Okay, y'all. I think I am going to head out. I'm going to my friends upstate tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. If these numbers hold, is it a landslide? If Trump gets 20% of the black vote, which I can't even wrap my head around that. If he does, which also means he's going to do very well with whites, electoral college will be a complete landslide because then he wins every swing state. And if you maybe there's some swing states where there's more Hispanic. California is not heavy black population. Arizona, but all those Rust Belt states have a large black population. If he takes those all, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be insane. Can you get a USB mic for cleaner desk audio? This is a USB mic. This is my second mic. Are they not using this mic? Which mic am I using? Well, I think I'm using I'm using. It looks like it's on. It's blue. Okay. I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna get out of my handcuffs, like Houdini, who was also Jewish, and I will see you all. Free me. I don't know what that means. I will see you all soon. Hope you're all having a great time. I interviewed Tucker Max. I interviewed Cody Wilson and got those both on tape. I got to ask Cody Wilson what Ghislaine Maxwell is like in real life. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And that airs this Tuesday. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great weekend.